Hello again, everyone. Alright, so we are moving on from the previous chapter of Anne's romantic story, Millie and Jacob. So this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll be putting the link on the description below, so you can catch up if you haven't yet. Alright, so here we go. Chapter 5, The Archangel. Mrs. Macmillan quickly came knocking on the restroom door. Dumbfounded and totally out of it, Millie didn't answer. Worried, Mrs. Macmillan said, "I'm going to get the restroom key, dear. I want to make sure you're okay in there." Just then, Millie snapped out of her delusions. She abruptly opened the door and ran to tell Mrs. Macmillan not to bother with the trouble. She sprinted past Archangel, but violently slipped on the supposedly dry, but now inexplicably wet floor. Her head was racing to hit the hardwood floor, but like divine intervention of some sort, Archangel's discreet but very useful biceps have caught her delicate body before it thumped onto the floor. Millie couldn't tell which one was more embarrassing, crashing onto the floor or crushing on her new boss. When her almond eyes met his brown eyes, it locked, like the universe waiting to align, and finally did. While holding Millie in his arms, Archangel said with a melting stare, "Hi." Millie couldn't move any muscle in her body. She was paralyzed by the power of his hi. "You seem to be falling into things today," he said again. And instead of being able to stand up, Millie's knees became even weaker. In response to what he said, Millie whispered very quietly in a non-intended-to-be-heard fashion, "No, I just keep falling into you." Mrs. Macmillan welcomely disrupted this unexplained phenomenon and said, "Oh, Millie, I see you've met Jacob." This Archangel. Jacob then flashed his very lethal smile. Millie could swear her heart forgot to beat for a fraction of a second. Ever since then, though, it only beat for Jacob, and no one else. Chapter 6, A Walk in the Park. The sun was sunshinier today, its warmth easily blending with the cool whiff of the morning breeze. This day seemed effortlessly brighter, and Millie could tell it's because of the knowledge that Jacob exists, and that he exists in her world. She found it downright weird how strongly she felt drawn to him. It scared her because the absoluteness of her feelings for him was real. She played the events of yesterday in her head many, many times. She wouldn't undo anything. Well, except maybe all those times Jacob witnessed her plunging into the ground, which was actually every single time. So maybe yes, she would try to undo everything, but then maybe all those moments had to happen to lead them to the right moment. Lost in her thoughts again, Millie crossed the moistened morning grass, failing to notice the man on the bench waving at her. This unnoticed man then leaped in front of her. Well, since having someone leap in front of you is not normal, Millie started jumping too, but backwards. Her eyes widened and her lungs fought to breathe. When she realized who it was that jumped in front of her, her lungs gave up the fight. She was out of breath and totally immobilized yet again. Millie gathered whatever's left of her energy and tried to bolt out. "Hey, please stay." Jacob's voice was deep, sexy, and heavenly. She had to surrender. "You know, aside from falling, you also have a habit of running away." Millie stared at him. How could she ever engage in a decent conversation with this man when every time he's in front of her, she loses herself? "You hit me with a crashing helicopter," she finally said. "Well, first of all, you said it yourself. It was crashing." Second, you didn't really give me a chance to apologize. I'm really sorry it had to crash on you. Millie squirmed as she remembered the chopper hitting her face. Jacob went on. Third, I really would like to walk with you to the cafe, if that's okay, Jacob said with an irresistibly sweet smile. The smile that told Millie, no matter how many helicopters crashed onto her face, nothing could compare to how strongly she was crashing into Jacob. Millie melted into nothingness, but managed to say, "That would be nice," was all she could say. It was inevitable. The possibility of falling helplessly in love with Jacob chased after her and locked her into this swirling trance where even she doesn't want to escape from anymore. Chapter 7. Breaking Amir. After a nice, mostly silent, but electrifying walk with Jacob, Millie was back in the cafe doing her morning inventory. She noticed her favorite whole wheat tuna sandwich resting on top of the cash register. The note on it said, "For my Millie, love always, Amir." Amir has been Millie's friend and co-worker for forever. He had always been nice to her. Someone to cry with, laugh with, be silly with, but not quite enough to fall in love with. This is the sad reality. When someone loves you, but you choose to love the one who doesn't. To be fair though, you can't really choose who you'll hurt, like you can't choose who you'll love. Amir was cleaning his tables, pretending not to be observing Millie as she read the note. With a sad and heartbroken stare, Millie walked towards him. "Amir, I'm so... "It's okay, Millie." "I know," Amir interjected. "I just wanted you to know too, you know." You've got to give it to this guy. He was brave enough to acknowledge his feelings for Millie, though it wasn't enough to be reciprocated. See, the thing with brevity is that it should always be accompanied by strength. Because brevity will get you there, but strength is the one that will get you through. Millie believed Amir was strong enough to get through. Still, Millie's heart broke when she saw how deep she seemed to have cut Amir's heart. But she had to cut deep so he'll know the wound is there. So when he is immersed in the pain and it hurts too much, he'd want to get rid of it and heal. Millie leaned over and hugged Amir so tight that it was hard for him to breathe. Not that it mattered at that point. Jacob walked in to witness the intense hugging. Ooh, love triangle. Interesting. Well, that does it for this part of Anne's romantic story, Millie and Jacob. Hopefully we'll see you again on the next part. Thank you for watching. Bye and have a nice day.